Greetings, fellow masters. Today, I'm going to talk about how to understand intuition, which when you realize what intuition actually is, that's kind of an oxymoron, right? But still, we try. You know, it would be nice to figure out what all of these messages mean, okay? And then tomorrow, I'm going to do a video called How to Cultivate Intuition. I'm not sure when this video is going to post. If you're watching on a Friday, then it'll be Monday when the next video posts. I don't remember, but the next video, it'll be how to actually get intuition to start happening. Now, understanding intuition first. Let's talk about what it is. And then we'll talk about ways to interpret it. Okay. Real simple. I came up with the best example ever on how to explain it, right? So you've experienced deja vu. Everybody has. At some point in your life, you've had deja vu. And it's this weird, eerie knowing that I've done this before or I've been here before. It just has this weird familiarity to it, this moment. And you're overcome with this weird, eerie knowing. And here's the thing, guys. It's not psychological. It's not the mind. Remember, you are body, mind, soul. You're a 3-part being, not a 2-part being, right? And what's interesting is at this point, in the experience, you're experiencing this knowing, this deja vu. There's also thinking going on about the knowing. So let's break that down a little bit. When the deja vu happens, you go, this is deja vu. I've done this before. Did I do this before? Maybe I did this yesterday. Was it last week? No, maybe it was a dream that I had. Was it a dream? Blah, 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 right? So the mind is thinking about the knowing. There's 2 things going on there, guys. And it's because they're coming from 2 places. The mind doesn't understand the knowing. The knowing seems to be happening outside of the thinker. And I talked about this yesterday, or I don't know, the last video I posted, depending on what day of the week it is. The last video I posted called How to Meditate, right? Go check that out. That's going to be a big part of cultivating your intuition and also getting your manifesting game to work. That's how you supercharge your manifesting game. But one of the things that I discussed in that video is the fact that you are not your mind. But we believe that we are the mind. We humans, we all do that. We believe that we are this ego identity. And I'm not going to rehash that here because I went very much in depth in the last video about how to meditate. So just go check out my last video, How to Meditate. But we believe that we are thinking, I'm trying to understand the intuition. That's not it. Who you really are is actually the intuition. Who are you beyond the mind? You're going to say the soul, right? The soul isn't thinking. The soul is just being. It is just experiencing itself. It's not directed out there. It's not externalized at all, right? And that's the thing about meditation. Is you're not looking out there somewhere, you're just experiencing yourself. And intuition is doing the same thing. It's this knowing that emanates from within you, right? And you can't explain it. Right, the mind can't explain it because it's beyond mind. It's this weird, eerie knowing. Now, that's deja vu. Intuition feels exactly the same. It feels Very, very much the same. The only difference is the information. So deja vu is actually a form of intuition. Somebody just decided to give it a special name because it's so commonplace. But here's the thing with intuition. It feels like deja vu. It's this weird, eerie knowing. I just know that. How do I know this? Right, and that's the mind. How do I know this? Right? That's thinking. But the thinker doesn't understand the knowing. The difference, again, between deja vu and intuition is the information. They feel the same. It has this characteristic of feel to it, how it feels like, right? Intuition feels like deja vu, but the information is different. So in other words, instead of I've done this before, the information is usually something about the future, something about another person, or something that's true for you. Right? So something other than I've done this before. But again, deja vu is intuition. So that's how would I know I was experiencing intuition if I was? There you go. Okay, now interpreting intuition. This just takes time, guys. You're just going to have to get good with that. The ego is very impatient. The ego mind is very, very impatient. It wants everything right now. And I'm here to let you know, guys, if you're really serious about being a master, you're going to have to put that shit in check. You guys, you got to make this a way of life. Law of attraction, you want it to really start working for you, you got to make this a way of life, guys. And again, I've got all kinds of resources already on this YouTube channel. This is a new YouTube channel, but I've been doing this for years, guys. I've got thousands of students. If you want to sign up for my Law of Attraction program, there's a link down below for you to sign up. It's extremely affordable, and it's like 40 hours long. And then you get to talk to me. So this is a lifelong thing, guys. You're making a big commitment because I really want this Law of Attraction stuff to work. You got to make this a way of life. So intuition, it just fits right into that, guys. You're just going to have to keep track of these things. So here's what you do. Go to the store or Amazon, whatever, Etsy, and purchase a special notebook. You could make it like a fancy leather-bound thing. You know, make it fun. Make it your special journal that you're going to keep, right? And if you're cool with a spiral notebook, then get a spiral notebook. But every time you have one of these intuitive experiences, write down the date and the time. Okay? And then also you could be writing down things like kind of what's going on in your life situation. Don't go into detail. You don't need to spend a ton of time on this, guys. Each entry should be no more than a half a page. 1 page at the most. You can go a little longer if you need to, but what I'm telling you is the more you analyze stuff with intuition, the more that you analyze, the less sense it's going to make to you. Okay? Because it's coming from a higher plane that's beyond what we would call mind. It's a higher mind, but it's much more advanced. It works on a deeper intelligence. Whereas our mind down here in density, in the 3D, is much more advanced. Less advanced. It's much less advanced. It's just dense. It just thinks a lot. And it spins its wheels a lot without drawing any conclusions. Intuition, it's like, it's done. I know that it's true, right? And it is too. That's another thing, is if you get an intuitive hit, if you receive some of this intuitive information, it's going to happen, guys. So write down the date, the time, and then write a brief thing about what's kind of going on in your life situation at that time. And keep these things brief. Usually when you get an intuitive hit, it comes across as like a one-word kind of thing. Like if I had to say how many words long, almost every single intuitive hit I've ever gotten, how long it was, it'd be like 1 or 2 words. That's it. But the thing is, To translate it into your journal, you could write a half a page to try to describe it, to explain it. And here's the thing about this, guys. This is key. You're just going to have to do the best you can. Just write it down the best you can. Now, you might come back a year later and look at that entry and you're going to go, oh, that's what it was. Like that. But what you'll notice is whatever you wrote, you'll be close. You'll be close. So just write it down the best that you can. Again, the intuition itself, if I had to describe how long it was, I would say between 1 and 2 words, maybe 3, but no more than 3. 3 words long. But to translate it into the conceptual mind as we know it, into the kind of concepts, into a language form that we as a mortal human would understand, you could write a half a page of stuff just to try to explain this simple message that you received. It's like that. So again, just write it down as close as you think it is. Don't make too many assumptions about it either. Don't assume, oh, it's this thing. I know what it is for sure, right? Just write it down the best that you can. Write down, again, a couple of sentences about your current situation, and just keep an eye on these things, guys. Do your daily meditating routine. Do your daily... I've talked about that a lot already on this YouTube channel, how to be a master manifester. So you also got your daily manifesting routine. Oh, by the way, there's my free quick start guide on how to get the law of attraction to work. I'll link that down below for you. Go check that out. Well, anyway, these things, you're keeping track of all of these intuitive hits. It might take a few years for some of this to start fitting together, guys, because you're going to be given a bigger picture. You got to understand these messages, they're coming from your higher self. Well, guys, your higher self is existing on a higher plane of reality. Okay? This is your higher self. And these planes are real, right? They've just proven the existence of the Higgs boson particle and the Higgs field. They know that these quantum fields exist. Science, they're not really sure how high up they go, but I bet you Hermes Trismegistus knows. And when you do the thing that we call die, you're going to know too. You're going to be on one of the highest planes there are, right? Now, from those higher planes, what does science tell us? Time really has no meaning. You experience time in the first person, linear time. You do. You experience time in the first person. But your higher self is experiencing all of these different moments in time simultaneously. And I've even got, here, let me see if I can find it. I got this other diagram where I'm showing you what life would look like in your life, just in this incarnation that you're in right now, because it's the same thing. Here, let me pause this. So your higher self is experiencing all of these points in time simultaneously. And I know that sounds weird, but that's really how time works. When you're on one of these higher planes, that is what that would be like. You guys ever see Interstellar? Do you ever see that movie, Interstellar? So at the end, where he's like floating around in this fourth dimensional reality, he can go to all these different points in time. So that's really how that works, you guys. So your higher self is telling you stuff, presumably about the future. You can count on it. But at the same time, your higher self is experiencing stuff a year from now or 5 years from now. It can see around corners that you can't see around. So for you to make sense of some of these messages, there might have to be some more context. You might have to just give it some time, you guys, and allow these intuitive hits to trickle in. And again, don't overanalyze these things. Don't get yourself in a hurry. And here's another big mistake that people make. Be really careful with this one, guys. Confusing intuition with emotions. That's a big one. That's why I used deja vu as the way to explain that to you. That really is the best way to explain it. Because again, deja vu is exactly intuition. That is what that is. And it's not an emotion. It's this weird knowing. That's intuition, guys. It's not an emotion. Some people make that mistake. They feel good and they have like, they're feeling high. You know, they're having like a big experience or something, right? And they think that's intuition, or they think that it's like a spiritual shift. It's really an emotional shift, but that's okay. I talked about that in the last video I did, how to meditate, too. I talked more deeply about that. So that's kind of it for how to interpret intuition. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about how to cultivate intuition. And again, if you didn't already watch my video yesterday where I was talking about how to meditate, I gave you some resources too. Man, you guys, you got to get started on that. 80 to 90% of your manifesting game is your Zen game. So get started on that one, and I'll see you tomorrow.